Streaming live from South Carolina. I am here today because my novel Tupelo Honey, right here, won a finalist in the 2019 Wishing Shelf Awards. This book has won 9 awards, including a 2020 winner of the Independent Press Award for New Fiction and a finalist in the Wishing Shelf. So when that happened, Rachel contacted me and said that since this convention was not going to meet, that we were all going to get together and do this live stream on Twitter. So I am here. This book is amazing. It is set in rural Mississippi. It is a cast of colorful Southerners, and it stars a very dysfunctional family at the center, which is Tupelo Honey. If you like dysfunctional family stories, you'll love this book. I have links on my site and Twitter. You can check out any of these books. You can grab a copy. You can learn more about me. My website is in my Twitter feed. So today I have a new book coming out, and it is this book. And it is adorable. This book is launching October 24th, 2020. It is a super book. It's a super fun book for the kids in your life or the kid in you. So I'm going to give you guys an exclusive reading from this book today. This book is not out. These are my arcs. If you go to Goodreads and follow me, I will be giving a copy away from this book, giving away a copy of this book when it launches in October. I did want to tell you a little bit about how I came to write this book. So I started writing this book because one year, a week before Christmas, I got in my car in North Carolina and I drove all the way across the country to the Grand Canyon. My dog and I stopped at roadside motels and drive-through coffee places. I jotted poems and stories on paper bags with stray fries hanging out in the bottom, literally. So I had this idea. My family and I never really celebrated holidays. And so I was convinced that somewhere in this world, meanings and miracles intersected, and I got in my car to go find it because that's what weird writers do. And so I've always been charmed by the desert. If you don't live in America, you may also be charmed by the desert. It is a massive waterless expanse of shrub and sand, and it totally lights up my imagination. I don't know what I love about the desert so much. But the further I drove, the more I started to form this idea for a story, like a real holiday story, which was kind of crazy, right? Since I don't really celebrate holidays back then. So it's a story about a little boy who finds something in the forest, and it was like it was right there. It was like it was in my car, this story, as I'm driving across the country, and it's the holidays, and it's like I could see all these little pieces floating around in my car. And so I knew it had to do with like a brother and a boy and a forest and a best friend and a find and something to do with the holidays. So I just kept driving, and I went through El Paso. I passed the border and I kept going out to Deming. I went out to White Sand. I went out to where Billy the Kid was jailed. I ate way too many avocados. I drove out to old Indian sites. There are lots of Indian sites out there. And hiked up the cliffs and down into the caverns. I blazed my way through barrels of fresh salsa, red and green. I started to get the feeling that I was closer to Christmas out in this vast nothing that I had created for myself than I'd ever been. And I bought a telescope and I took it out to the desert. And it was not a sophisticated telescope because it was portable, but it was a really good telescope. And from the middle of a dirt road in New Mexico, I could see the moons of Jupiter. And seeing those moons locked in the pull of a planet so far away created a shift in me. And it was a shift that felt like it was pushing me closer to a magic that I had never, ever, ever been able to define. And it wasn't hocus pocus magic. It was like real magic, the kind of magic like when flowers turn and face the sun throughout the day. It was beyond science and stars and moons into this subatomic world of sheer possibility, and I could feel it. It was around the corner. It was like it was watching me. It was in my car, and it made me feel like a stranger in a strange land. It was one of the first times I'd ever felt like a total stranger on my own planet. And I'd started in one place, And then I ended up somewhere totally unexpected because I just got in my car and I drove. I didn't know where I was going, so I got in my car in North Carolina and I drove to New Mexico. And I'd started in one place, ended up somewhere totally unexpected, just like the little boy who finds a golden rock that hatches into this adorable alien. And that alien loves food. And so his name is Gobbledy because he gobbles everything in sight. And he is a stranger in a strange land. And so in many ways, I think that that's kind of how I came up with him, was through me. So I went to the Grand Canyon, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I started writing this book. And I'm going to read an excerpt from this book. I've never done this. This is the first time I'm reading an excerpt for this one, and I'm reading it live, so no pressure there. So this is from, I'm going to start in chapter 3, from when he starts. He finds a golden rock in the forest, and he puts it in his jar for his science experiment, and he takes it to school, and he is in the middle of class, and that is where this picks up. I am right in the middle of a pop quiz when I glance down and see an army of crickets pouring out of my backpack. I swoop down to grab the 4 hopping closest to my tennis shoes. They shoot straight up in the air and scatter in all directions. In horrifyingly slow motion, which is not something crickets are usually known for, I watch a big one bend its back legs for a split second before launching into the air. It lands on Sally Summers' knee sock, clinging sideways. A second cricket lands on her knee, most likely to keep the first one company. This is how disaster forms. Sally rockets out of her seat, half falling, half stumbling, into the desk of our teacher, who is not there because she has stepped out. Sally runs in circles, swatting desperately at her legs. Her brown bob swirls around her head like a tornado. Crickets hop frantically about, looking for a place to hide. Crickets are friendly, kind little bugs who live in happy communities. Crickets are related to the grasshopper and the katydid. They have excellent vision. There are 900 species of cricket worldwide. None of my classmates appreciate these facts. I know this thanks to the field guide that I've been compiling for weeks, which has been knocked to the floor in the hullabaloo. Bobby Roberts snatches it up to smash a cricket. "What are you doing?" I scream. "That is a life form and my grade you're about to kill." Half my classmates are balanced on top of their desk. The other half, presumably the half not bothered by insects, stand around the room, mouths open, gawking. Trouble is a plague. Trouble follows fun. Trouble is my mortal enemy. I grab my backpack and I see clearly for the first time that the lid to the cricket colony was screwed on crooked. Since I was in a massive hurry to get the crickets out of the house this morning, I must have knocked it loose. This counts for a third of my grade. Panic seizes me. I pull the lid off completely to make sure no crickets get smooshed. In the bottom of the jar, with only 2 crickets left, is the strangest bug I've ever seen. Quickly, I stuff the jar deep in my backpack and I make a run for the door. Fee is standing in the hallway. Why is Sally screaming? I glance down at the bathroom pass in her hand. Something is really weird. She furrows her brow. Weird how? I push open the nearest door and I wave for her to follow. I unzip the top of my backpack and I slowly pull the cricket colony jar out. Fee hunches over and stares at the strange little bug standing next to the crickets. "What is that?" The little bug screeches loudly. I shrug. I don't know. It must have been stuck to the rock that I picked up this morning in the forest. I really need a good grade, so I put the rock inside the colony to brighten it up. Fee looks inside the jar, and then she looks back at me. "Where's the rock?" "I think it must have gotten knocked under the dirt." The strange little bug looks up at me with a wild look in his eyes. Fee's mouth drops open. "Oh my God. What is that thing?" I shrug, feeling my shoulders slump forward. "I don't know exactly. What I do know is that it took us weeks to catch those crickets." Fee thinks about this a second. "Okay, listen, you go back to class and round up those crickets before your teacher gets back, and I'll meet you in the computer lounge after the bell, and then we'll try to figure out what's going on." I nod, and I walk straight into the hall where Principal Snarly Watson stops to look at me. We lock eyes. Her crooked tooth shines in the hall light. After a second, I try to walk around her, but she blocks me. She points to the door behind me. Annoyed, I turn around and I see "Girls' Restroom" printed in big letters across the door. Suddenly, I know crickets are no longer at the top of my list of things to worry about. In the main part of the office, a printer rumbles. Snarly walks into her office, clutching copies of my disciplinary action. She walks behind her desk and sits down. I stare at my shoes, the ones my mom bought me, with flames painted down the sides to help me run faster. "Why can't you be funny and smart like your little brother Dougal?" she asks. "Because then I wouldn't be myself," she snorts, baring her crooked tooth. "Given the circumstances, that wouldn't be such a bad thing." Leaning back in her chair, she says, "This is worse than the time that you sold your little brother's tooth." Two lone crickets chirp in the jar. The little bug is nowhere to be seen. "It's not like he needed his tooth anymore," I pointed out. Her nose twitches. "Do you want to tell me what you were doing in the girls' bathroom?" "My crickets," I say. "I heard that part already. Here's the issue. Crickets escaping in no way explains why you were in the girls' bathroom." I cannot get Fee in trouble. I just cannot. I hesitate. I think hard. And then finally I say, "I was going to get a trash can to trap my crickets. It's my grade. I was desperate." She stares straight at me. "There's a trash can in your classroom." Seconds pass. The crickets chirp. I sit silent, unable to think of a good reason to be in the girls' bathroom. "So," she exhales, "then explain why you let the bugs loose." "I did not let them loose. They're my science project." "This is worse than the toilet incident." Snarly pinches her face up, recoiling in horror at the memory. I roll my eyes and I lean back in my chair. "That was a science experiment too." Snarly spins around in her chair and she grabs a stack of papers. She flips through them quickly, pulls one out and hands it over to me. "I'm putting you in the drama club." I stare at the call for members. My punishment is being forced to join a club? Not just any club. This club has the annual winter extravaganza coming up, and that should give you something to do other than hang around at my office. "What? You can't do this." She stands up from her desk, ignoring me. "I hear they need a gingerbread man." "I don't want to be in the drama club." "Then you shouldn't create so much drama." The main door to the office slams shut and I turn. My dad walks in. He's wearing his work jacket and a tight frown. Not a good combination. I shove the piece of paper in my backpack. "Oh, good, Mr. Duckworth, you're here." Snarly pulls a fake smile that showcases her crooked tooth. Dad doesn't even pretend to be nice. "I was informed that Dexter is in some kind of trouble." She clears her throat. "Well, yes, trouble seems to follow him around. His bug farm filled a classroom with creepy crawlies, and then I caught him hiding in the girls' bathroom." Dad furrows his brow. "Is he suspended?" With a huff, she whips the disciplinary action around and slaps it on the counter. "We can all hope for that one day. Until then, he goes home early." My eyes shoot to the jar, scoping it out for the little bug thing. Two crickets sit on top of the dirt. Either the bug has escaped into the classroom or he has buried himself in the dirt. Either way, as long as I don't get into too much trouble, going home early is perfectly fine. The urgency to get out of the principal's office collides with a gut-wrenching reality. The school has called my father at the ketchup factory 3 times this month. Snarly points at the dotted line. "Sign here, and he can be your problem for the rest of the day." Dad wrestles with the pen chained to the counter. "Thanks. I'm pretty sure he's my problem for life." In the parking lot, Dad jams his key into the old station wagon, jiggling the lock. The car is so old it's practically glued together, but Dad refuses to give it up because he took Mom on her first date in the ugly contraption. I stuff the jar into my backpack, careful not to jostle the survivors. From this, I can rebuild. Still jiggling his key in the lock because he's alternately too cheap or too busy to get it fixed. His words, not mine. He asked, "So while we're on the subject of doing bad things, I would like to know what in the world made you sell your brother's teeth?" We've already been over that. Tooth, I correct. Tooth, then. Because he didn't need it anymore. That does not mean you can sell it. Well, it's not like he was going to jam it back in his mouth and use it. Imaginary missiles shoot from his eyes. Those decorative jars you hid those crickets in belong to your mother, and now you have filled them with bugs, and God knows what you have done that I haven't even found out about yet. Dad slumps over the roof of his station wagon. I look up and down the boulevard, where silver Christmas stars twinkle from the tops of telephone poles. I am quiet. I focus on the dry, gray trees that look like stick figures against the sky. December winds have blown all the autumn colors away. When Dougal was little, he couldn't say Christmas, so he called it Kissmas. Since Mom had never been very religious, we started calling it by the new name. And this is going to be our first Kissmas without her. And it's depressing. Dad's hands drop to his sides. He looks up into the sky and takes a long, deep relaxation breath, just like on the CD he listens to at night. Exhale to a count of 10, 9, 8, 7. He stops abruptly and drops his eyes to meet mine. You're on red. If you stay on red, or God forbid, if you go to code red, you are not going to your grandparents' house this Christmas. Oh, the knot in my stomach twists tighter. If I keep having to leave work and pick you up, I'm not driving you all the way to meet your grandparents this year. There will be no TV. There will be no games. There will be no computer, no Fiona. Just you and the four walls of your bedroom. Got it? No more trouble. No more of your ridiculous antics. Got it? No more trouble. I cross my heart. He rolls his eyes, unconvinced. And no more bugs. Stop dragging every single critter you find into our house. Just stop. I mean, really. Tadpoles in the bathtub, a feral cat colony you tried to start in the backyard, the chicken in the closet. It's all too much. Understand? It's just me now, and I can't keep dealing with the drama that you cook up. I nod. Dry leaves tumble down the sidewalk. The station wagon door groans open. Build a volcano or something. No, wait. Definitely do not build a volcano. Just do something that does not end with me having to pick you up from the principal's office. All I want is a pet, I say. And all I want is for you to stop getting in trouble. I frown. Do we understand each other? I huff. Yes, I understand. For a split second, Dad looks at me over the roof of the ugly station wagon, and I think he's going to say something nice. But he just pinches his frown tighter and he climbs inside. So that is Gobbledy. And so the quick description of this is a story about an 11-year-old boy named Dexter and his brother Dougal, who lost their mom, and since then everything has been different. But different takes on a whole new meaning when one day just before Christmas, Dexter finds a golden rock in the forest that hatches into an adorable alien that loves food, and he gobbles everything in sight. Granola bars, peanut butter, Pop-Tart. Gobbledy is smarter than he seems, and he is lost on planet Earth, and before long, Gobbledy takes Dexter, Dougal, and their best friend Fee on an adventure of friendship, one that requires them all to stay out of trouble, protect Gobbledy from a shadowy group called the Planetary Society, and prepare for their school's winter extravaganza play where Dexter has to be a dreaded gingerbread man. Gobbledy is a fun-filled holiday story that adds up to 2 brothers, 3 friends, unlimited jars of peanut butter, 1 ketchup factory, and a little alien far, far from home. And so that is my reading. So I will take questions if you guys have any. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little bit about me. I am. I do? No. Can't see it. Thank you For a fun reading, did you prefer writing Gobbledy or Tupelo Honey? Oh, well, that's a hard question. I like writing all the books that I write. They're very different. So Tupelo Honey is about a little girl in the South and living with her family, her grandmother, and her uncle, who is quite unusual. Gobbledy is about two little boys who have lost their mom, and this is their first Christmas without her. And their dad works at a ketchup factory, and he is worried about layoffs, so he is constantly at work. And they find this adorable alien, and they have to keep him hidden in the attic, basically. So they were both fun. They were both very different. The story I'm writing now is very different also. It's about a group of friends and some discoveries that they make. So I think that I think I like writing all of them. I think I even like writing the next one, like the one I haven't written, I like writing even more than the other ones. Give you guys a brief thing about me. So you can find out all about me on my website, Anna-Langston.com. It is in my Twitter feed. I definitely encourage you guys to follow me on Goodreads, Amazon, and Instagram, because those are the platforms that I am super active on. You can find links to all of those at the bottom of the contact page on my website, which is actually the actual bottom of my website, or you can also access them here in my Twitter feed. Gobbledy is available for pre-sale at Barnes & Noble, and you can buy it instantly at Amazon. Tupelo Honey is also on sale now if you want to check that one out. Let's see. Any other questions? Because I don't see questions come up here. Anyone? Okay. All right. And so I would like to give a big thanks to Rachel for setting this up, to everyone here, to YALC, and all the other authors who have come together to do live readings today. This was incredibly fun, and I have a few more minutes. So I will tell you, so people are always like, how'd you come up with the idea for this book? Well, I wanted to combine my three favorite things: holidays, aliens, and ketchup.
Somebody asked what's your favorite part of writing.
What is my favorite part of writing? My favorite part of writing is workshopping with Carmen and C. Yes.
Carmen that asked.
Yes. So my favorite part of writing is I like all of the parts. I mean, isn't that just like the non-answer? But I do. I love it when I get the initial idea. I love it when I'm making a lot of notes about the story. I love it when I'm stop writing. Like I realize that my notes are like page after page after page and like chapter after chapter, and then I'm not writing notes anymore and I'm writing the book. I love the drafts. I love the draft process. I love seeing how things come from one thing, one draft, and then the next one is completely different. And then honestly, I love this. I do. I love this part. I love the whole part about telling everybody about the book, talking about the book, because this is also a huge part of the whole writing experience. And then it's like by the time you're doing this, you're already into the next book. And so from here, I am going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. So that next up is going to be Joshua Winning, and his book is Seth Riley Isn't Ready Yet, and he will be on in about 5 minutes. So if you would like to go there, I encourage you to listen and watch all of these today, and thank you very much. This has been a pleasure.